Right now, as you are watching this, Arsenal are dealing with something that would shake the foundations of almost any club in Europe. Picture this. The international break arrives at what should be a moment of relief, a chance for players to breathe, recover, and reset. Instead, what unfolds is a wave of withdrawals, medical assessments, and injury scares that leaves Mikel Arteta staring at a squad depleted in ways he could not have fully anticipated. One by one, the names come in: Rice, Saka, Madueke, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Trossard, Odegaard, Marino, Hincapie. Each name on that list is not just a player. Each name is a system, a role, a solution to a specific tactical problem. And right now, all of them are carrying some form of concern. This is not a minor setback. This is a full-scale injury emergency arriving at the most dangerous moment of Arsenal's season. The club are closing in on their first Premier League title since 2004. They are in the quarterfinals of both the FA Cup and the Champions League. Every fixture that remains matters enormously. And yet the manager is preparing to navigate a schedule of 5 games in 15 days with a squad that is barely recognisable in terms of its first choice options. Let us be clear about what is at risk here. Arsenal are not just fighting to win a trophy. They are fighting to make history. A Premier League title after more than 2 decades would mean everything to this club and its supporters. But the road ahead is brutal. 5 games in 15 days is a schedule that demands depth, freshness, and tactical flexibility. What the evidence suggests is that Arsenal may have to navigate the majority of that stretch without several of their most important players. Declan Rice is the heartbeat of this Arsenal midfield. He controls the tempo, he wins the ball, he connects defense to attack. Bukayo Saka is arguably the most important attacking player at the club. He is the one who creates, who drives, who earns the big moments. And now both of them have been sent back from the England camp for medical assessment. The full extent of their issues is not yet clear, but the fact that they were withdrawn from international duty just 1 day after arriving tells you that neither situation was considered minor enough to manage through training. Then there is the question of the FA Cup. Arsenal face Southampton on Saturday, the 4th of April. That game is now looking like it will arrive with a significant number of first-team players either unavailable or being carefully managed. The reality for the club is that even winning trophies comes with a cost, and right now that cost is being paid in the injury room. If you want deeper analysis on stories like this, the kind that breaks down what is really happening behind the headlines, not just the surface level news. Let us go through this carefully and methodically because each case is different and each one carries a different level of concern. Starting with Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka, both players linked up with Thomas Tuchel's England squad on Friday. Within 24 hours, both were on their way back to Arsenal. The Football Association issued a statement confirming that both players would return to the club for medical assessment. The nature of their issues has not been disclosed at this stage. The timeline for their return is unknown. What is clear is that the decision was made quickly, which suggests that whatever the assessments revealed, or whatever the players communicated to the medical staff, it was serious enough to warrant immediate action. For Arsenal supporters, the unknown is often more unsettling than the confirmed. Right now, the unknown is what we are dealing with in both cases. Now, Noni Madueke. His situation became visible in the most public way possible. During England's 1-1 draw with Uruguay on Friday night, Madueke was seen walking past Thomas Tuchel on the touchline as he left the field. He was visibly frustrated. What came next was even more concerning. Video footage from after the match showed Madueke leaving Wembley Stadium with a brace on his left leg. This is a player who had already missed 15 fixtures earlier in this campaign with a knee problem. Now he is dealing with what England described as a knock, but the images of that brace on his left leg tell a story that goes beyond a simple knock. He has withdrawn from the England squad and returned to Arsenal for treatment. His return date is unknown. The situation with Eberechi Eze carries a clearer timeline, but that clarity comes with its own pain. Eze picked up a calf injury during Arsenal's Champions League victory over Bayer Leverkusen. He missed the Carabao Cup final as a result. He has now withdrawn from the England squad. The understanding is that he could be sidelined for approximately 4 to 6 weeks. Given the schedule Arsenal are facing, with 5 games in 15 days immediately after the international break, it appears likely that Eze will miss the majority, if not all. of that critical run of fixtures. His potential return date is put at late April or early May. William Saliba's situation offers a slightly more hopeful picture. He did play in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. However, he picked up an ankle injury during that match, which led to him being replaced by Maxence Lacroix in the France squad. The French Football Federation confirmed that Saliba is suffering from recurring pain in his left ankle and requires a minimum rest period of 10 days. The word recurring is worth noting here. This is not a fresh injury that arrived out of nowhere. There is a history to it. However, if the French Federation's 10-day estimate is accurate, Saliba should be available for the FA Cup fixture against Southampton on Saturday, the 4th of April. That would be a significant boost given what is happening elsewhere in the squad. Martin Odegaard's situation remains one of the more frustrating ongoing stories at the club. The Arsenal captain was ruled out of the Carabao Cup final due to a knee injury. He had already been sidelined for approximately a month leading into that final. Whether he will be available for the Southampton game is unclear. His return date remains unknown. For a player of his importance to how Arsenal play and think on the ball, his continued absence is a significant tactical loss. Gabriel Magalhaes has also been ruled out of Brazil's international fixtures. The Brazilian Football Federation confirmed that Gabriel would be unavailable due to pain in his right knee. Scan results have revealed an injury. The details beyond that are limited at this stage. His return date is unknown. Losing Gabriel from the centre of defence at a time when Saliba is also carrying an ankle issue creates real problems for Arteta's defensive structure. Jurrien Timber's absence stretches back to earlier this month. He sustained an injury during Arsenal's victory over Everton and has not featured since. He withdrew from the Netherlands squad for their friendlies with Norway and Ecuador. The Dutch Football Association confirmed the withdrawal, stating that Timber had not yet sufficiently recovered. Arteta confirmed ahead of the break that Timber would be assessed during the international period, with a potential return date set for the Southampton game on Saturday, the 4th of April. That is an optimistic timeline, but it is the one being indicated. Leandro Trossard pulled out of Belgium duty with a hip complaint. Limited information is available about the nature or severity of his issue. There is no clear return date at this stage. Mikel Merino's situation may be the most definitive of all. The indication is that his Arsenal season is effectively over. He was seen at Wembley during the Carabao Cup final on crutches, wearing a protective boot. While it is believed he should be sufficiently recovered for Spain's World Cup campaign this summer, the club are taking a cautious approach to his rehabilitation. In practical terms, it appears he will not feature for Arsenal again this season. And finally, Piero Hincapie. The defender withdrew from the Ecuador squad with what has been described as a physical issue. The decision appears precautionary rather than indicating anything deeply serious. However, he is on his way back to London for further tests. Hincapie has been one of the more impressive performers for Arsenal this season, appearing 33 times. Losing him, even briefly, adds to an already painful list of concerns. What strikes me most when you look at this list in full is not any individual absence. It is the pattern. Arsenal have reached a crucial and historic moment in their season, but their squad is being asked to absorb an extraordinary volume of physical stress. The Carabao Cup final, the Champions League run, the Premier League title race. Every week, the intensity has been at maximum, and now the body of the squad is sending a message. You cannot keep running at this pace without consequences. The evidence suggests that some of these issues, Saliba's recurring ankle, Madueke's return to a knee problem, Merino's season ending, these are not bad luck. They are the physical cost of competing at the highest level across multiple fronts for an extended period. The real test of Arteta and his staff now is whether they can manage the next 15 days intelligently enough to preserve what they have worked all season to build. Now let us shift the conversation to something equally significant, because while the injury picture dominates the immediate discussion, there is a longer story developing about the shape of this Arsenal squad in the seasons ahead. The situation is clear regarding Gabriel Jesus. The 28-year-old has made just 2 Premier League starts this season. That number alone tells you everything about where he sits in Mikel Arteta's plans. During the current international break, Jesus has been granted permission to train with his former club Palmeiras in Brazil. That is a meaningful detail. Clubs do not arrange training visits to former clubs for players they are building around. It is a signal, and it confirms what sources are now indicating, that a return to Brazil is a genuine option. Jesus is considering for the summer. However, it is not the only option. Atletico Madrid are among the clubs to have made initial contact over a potential deal. Jesus remains under contract until 2027, so Arsenal holds significant leverage in any negotiation, but the direction of travel is clear. His time at the Emirates may be coming to an end. Gabriel Martinelli's situation carries a different emotional weight. He is 24 years old. He has been part of this Arsenal rebuild in a very real sense. But the reality is that his role has shifted. He is now viewed as a squad player rather than a guaranteed starter. More significantly, it is understood that Martinelli is not expected to sign a new contract at this stage. His current deal runs until 2027, with Arsenal holding a 12-month extension option. But if the player is not willing to commit long-term, the club will face a decision. Do they hold on to a player entering the final stages of his contract, or do they act now and recover significant value? Atletico Madrid have made inquiries about Martinelli's availability. Additionally, RB Leipzig and Marseille are also understood to be monitoring the situation closely. This is not a quiet rumor. This is genuine interest from multiple clubs across multiple leagues. Arsenal's position for now is that they would not stand in Martinelli's way if he decided to pursue a move. That is a clear signal of where things stand. One important clarification: while Arsenal have their own interest in Atletico Madrid for Julian Alvarez, sources have been clear that the admiration Atletico hold for Jesus and Martinelli is not directly connected to that potential deal. However, it is acknowledged that any movement involving the Brazilian pair would not damage the working relationship between the two clubs if negotiations over Alvarez were to develop. This is a fascinating moment for Arsenal as a club. The Jesus and Martinelli situation represents the natural evolution of a squad that has been built over several years and is now entering a new phase. Both players made important contributions, but football is relentless. The standards at Arsenal have risen, the expectations have risen, and when the squad is pushing for a Premier League title and deep runs in Europe, there is simply no room for sentiment. What the evidence suggests is that Arteta and the recruitment team are already thinking about the next version of this squad. Jesus and Martinelli being available for the right offer is not an admission of failure. It is a strategic decision. The money raised from those sales, if they happen, will fund the next wave of recruitment, and the next wave is already taking shape. Speaking of the next wave, there is a name you need to know: Nicolo Tresoldi. He is 21 years old, he plays for Club Brugge, and Arsenal are currently the frontrunners to sign him this summer, with talks already understood to be underway. The numbers Tresoldi has produced this season are remarkable: 21 goals and 5 assists in a single campaign. For a 21-year-old striker operating in a competitive European environment, that is an outstanding return. His valuation is put at approximately 30 million euros, which translates to roughly 26.1 million pounds. For a player of his profile and age, that represents significant value if his development continues on its current trajectory. Tresoldi is described as a pressing physical number 9. He brings box presence, movement, and finishing instincts. For Arsenal, who have not had a consistently dominant goalscorer this season, despite Victor Gyökeres leading the line, the addition of a striker with those qualities and at that age makes a great deal of tactical and financial sense. He also offers something different to the false 9 profiles that Arteta has often utilised. Tresoldi is more direct, more penalty box focused. The interest extends beyond Arsenal. Champions League clubs from Spain, Italy, and Germany are all paying close attention to his situation. But it is Arsenal who are described as leading the race at this moment, with talks already underway. It is also worth noting that Tresoldi holds eligibility to represent Germany, Argentina, and Italy internationally. That kind of profile, young, versatile in terms of international options, playing at a high level in Europe, is exactly the kind of player that multiple clubs will fight hard to secure. The fact that Arsenal are currently ahead in that race is a meaningful indicator of the club's standing in the market. 21 goals and 5 assists at 21 years of age. That is not a prospect. That is a player who has arrived. The question for Arsenal is whether he fits as an immediate contributor or as a player for the medium-term future. Given that Gyökeres is the established first choice, Tresoldi would likely come in initially as a high-quality rotation option. But at 21, with that kind of output, the expectation would be that he grows into a starting role quickly. The 30 million euro valuation also makes this a relatively low-risk investment. If even half of his current form transfers to the Premier League, Arsenal will have found something special. This is a smart piece of business. if they can get it done. Hincapie withdrew from the Ecuador squad during the international break due to a physical issue. The decision was described as precautionary. The Italian journalist Fabrizio Romano reported that no risks are being taken at this stage. Hincapie is now on his way back to North London for further assessment by the Arsenal medical team. Since arriving from Bayer Leverkusen in the summer, Hincapie has made 33 appearances for the club. That level of involvement tells you exactly how important he has become to Arteta's defensive setup. His versatility is a significant part of his value. He can operate in multiple defensive positions, which gives the manager genuine flexibility when others are unavailable. The timing of his withdrawal is worth examining closely. Arsenal have already lost significant defensive cover due to the injuries to Saliba, Gabriel, and Timber. Adding a Hincapie concern on top of those existing issues would stretch the defensive options to a critical point. The fact that both Arsenal and Ecuador agreed to withdraw him rather than push through is a sign that the club are being sensible. The season is too important and too close to its conclusion to risk turning a manageable issue into something more serious. The reality for the club is that the next 4 to 6 weeks will define this entire season. Premier League title, FA Cup, Champions League, everything is still on the table. But you cannot win trophies without players. And right now, the most urgent job at London Colney is getting as many of those players back as quickly and as safely as possible. What this situation highlights more than anything is how much Arsenal's season rests on the performance of their medical and sports science department over the next few weeks. The games will come, the schedule will not move, but how Arsenal manage the return of Hincapie, Saliba, Timber, Saka and Rice in the days ahead will be just as important as anything that happens on the pitch. A rushed return that leads to a more serious injury would be far more damaging than a cautious extra day or two of rest. The evidence suggests the club understands this, given the precautionary approach being taken across the board. That is the right call, and if they can get even 3 or 4 of those key names back at somewhere close to full fitness before the serious games resume, then this Arsenal squad still has everything it needs to make history. That is the full picture right now for Arsenal, an injury crisis that is testing the entire structure of the squad, exits being prepared for players who have given real service to the club, a 21-year-old striker being chased who could define the next era, and a defender being carefully managed so that he is ready when the biggest moments arrive. This club is in the middle of something historic, and every detail matters. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe to Jessica Arsenal Analysis. Leave a comment below telling me which of these stories concerns you the most. And share this video with any Arsenal supporter who needs to understand exactly what is happening at their club right now. Stay informed, stay analytical. This is Jessica Arsenal Analysis.